Welcome to Sub Rosa. I am Stephanie.
And I'm Eugene S. Robinson.
And today, the question is, would you break a strike? The Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA are on strike. UPS is going to be taking a strike vote before August 1st. There's a lot of stuff going on with unions. So, and I've seen people, I'm sure you've seen the same posts on social media, people who are influencers saying, this is going to be our moment because there's going to be this big dearth of content. Oh, Eugene is holding up his SAG-AFTRA card. Are you a current member of SAG-AFTRA?
Current member. That's what I was covering, my membership number and my expiration date. I am current. So
what do you think?
I'm the wrong person to ask. And I just say that because I did that national commercial for Miller Genuine Draft called Tattoo, and I was paid correctly for the first 3 years. But then after the first 3 years, somebody bought the contract and it went from national to regional. It was in the Midwest that they were showing this commercial. And I go, great, I'll be expecting a check any day now. The check didn't come. I went to the Screen Actors Guild and go, hey, could you help me do this? And they were like, yeah, and did nothing. So it's like, this is a system, and somebody who works in the film industry, another SAG holder, said, listen, the fact that you got all those original checks, you should thank the union for. I go, but what about the subsequent ones? Yeah, he's like, well, at least you got the first 3 years. That's cold comfort, I mean, the claim is that Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, make it possible for me to get the little peanuts that I get because of their involvement in the union. I was like, I don't know. I mean, they have to change the system. But this happened. What other industry was upended by digital technology a few years ago? The music industry. You guys, aren't you paying attention? You should be paying attention, Well,
and I mean, I think there's a political divide in people who support the labor unions and people who don't, right? Like, I mean, I grew up in a family where nobody was in a union, but we knew not to cross a picket line.
Yep.
And we would not cross a picket line. So, and it was
I would not cross a picket line either.
So, I mean, I think part of what's informing my look at this is, number one, that kind of long. So, there was something that came up on social media that said, "Do you know what a scab is?" And it was an age divide. I know what a scab is. A scab is a strike breaker. Right? I can also see, though, I mean, one of the things that's interesting is, what I was thinking about is, okay, specifically, if somebody came to you and I right now with our little podcast and said, hey, we want you to fill a slot in this reality television show. And we want, Stephanie and Eugene are going to do the Bad Boss brief for a TV network. And here is commensurate monies. What would you say?
I don't know. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I'm a bitter contrarian, right? Because the first thing in my mind was, where were you guys last week? Where were you a month ago? Where were you 5 years ago? You don't love me. You just want to rob me. You want to get me to. So that would be my take on it.
Well,
however, there's certain amounts of money that would probably get me to pay attention. I'm not above that either, So we'll give you $5 million a show. Okay, I'll do it. What about the lumpen proletariat? Well, I got problems.
And I think too, I mean, I'm sure we all say, had we been around in World War II or in we would have done the noble thing, blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah.
I like to think that I would say no, because I think the larger thing that's interesting to me now about unions and some of the union actions it is really the only maybe small weapon that can be used against corporations in the current environment, right? Where corporations have been given the legal right of persons. I don't think we're going to see the Supreme Court do anything to change that or take that away. Where you've got, as I've frequently referred to, people, Amazon pays less taxes than I do, right? And you've got all these inequities. Then to me, what the unions are doing is a lot more important. Like, there was an article in the New York Times about what Starbucks is doing to bust unions. And it's interesting because Howard Schultz testified in front of Congress, and he has talked a lot about the fact that his dad was a blue collar guy and worked really hard. And, somebody actually called Schultz on that. And it's like, all the people that work for you are blue collar people. They are working hard. Why is it that you are fighting so hard to keep them out of the unions? But they listed in this New York Times article the ways in which they're trying to bust the union. Not only are they just stalling by not signing contracts, they're firing people who are involved in things that are illegal. And people are writing to the NLRB, I think it is, and complaining about it and taking all these actions. But the system is overwhelmed because Amazon's doing it, Starbucks doing it. And I guess, I don't know, I'm sort of feeling like unions might be a hope for us. I don't know. Yeah,
let me get a little crazy on you for 2 seconds here, because you're a smart person. I'm a smart person. We're well read, read the newspapers maybe every day. Who's our Secretary of Labor?
Yeah,
there you go.
Who is it?
I have no idea. I can tell you who our Secretary of Transportation is Buttigieg, because I know he's not doing his job. But Secretary of Labor, no idea. And this shit, I knew who under Clinton, I knew who the Secretary of Labor was. It's Alexis Herman. But under Biden, how come I don't know?
True. I think that is true. And I do think that there is, we are in an era where politics is looked on as just a spectator sport. I noticed, and I wish I had printed this out, but the head of the Teamsters Union, who would be leading the strike for against UPS, the Teamsters Union, most Teamsters work for UPS. It's the largest employer in the Teamsters Union, and the Hoffa, not the Hoffa that went away, but his son, was president of the Teamsters Union for years and years. And he got bumped by this guy whose name is escaping me, who I should have written down. His first name is Brian, who said, this is ridiculous. UPS is making, tons of money, huge record profits, and our guys can't even get air conditioning in heat waves, right? And the part-time, all the lists, right? And he has talked very vigorously about going on strike. And he was challenged by a congressman, and the congressman said, I'll do a cage match fight with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And of course, this guy's a Teamster. Brian's like, okay, bring it if that's how you want to, resolve this. But we're used to that, right? It's the spectator sport. It's like, it's all a cage match. And I think one of the challenges is that we don't get ourselves involved in political action. Mm-hmm. It's not a participatory sport anymore. It's something we're watching from the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that interests me about labor is the people that I know that are in unions, they're pretty politically active. They're active in their unions, and they're active. They will do, strikes. They'll go down to, in my case, Olympia, which is the state capital of Washington. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's another hope that I have, is recognizing it's union. Because whenever, in France, they raised the retirement age. Everybody went to the streets, right? Yep. People are all in Israel. They're talking about, changing the judiciary.
Supreme Court.
Everybody's in the streets. In the United States, no one's ever in the streets.
They're in the streets. They're in the streets. New iPhone. I'm lining up. I'm in the streets for that.
Right. So I guess that's why I feel like, and maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on it, but I do feel like there's a lot of hope, and I feel like it's incumbent on all of us who are not likely to cross a picket line to maybe expand the aperture of that, right? So what I am trying to do is I am trying to not go to Starbucks unless I know it's a union store.
Nice.
I mean, how hard is that to drive a little further for your caffeinated beverage or start going somewhere else? The idea
so your answer to the query is don't cross the picket line.
But change your mind about what a picket line is.
Yeah.
Right? Change your mind about if you are an influencer and somebody calls you and says, hey, we want you to do a promotion for our Barbie movie. That's crossing a picket line, right? Yep. They need somebody else to do that because their SAG-AFTRA stars, aren't going to go do that. So it's like, you can find this information out, but start to take it on yourself as something that, just like voting for people on the school board so that they, the crazy conservatives can't take it over, all of those things, and really looking at that as part of how we participate in democracy. Look at me getting up on a little soapbox.
Yeah. Attica.
But I do. And I think that there is something cinematic about a strike. And it is going to be interesting to me to see the Teamsters walk out of UPS at this time with as reliant as we are on ordering something and having it show up on our doorstep, when all those people in the brown trucks are on a picket line, it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening. So
nice.
All right, that's what we've got for Sub Rosa. If you have a question for us, you can send it to WTF@Bad Boss Brief, and we will be sure to answer it. See you later.